everybody. Today we're talking about income taxes. So please have 2 pieces of lined paper per usual and a pencil to get started. Pause now if you don't have those things. For income taxes, we're going to use a Cornell note style. So you see the red line on my left is the red line you would have on your lined piece of paper. And then this blue line is a line that you would have to draw in. So draw in your line to split it into a skinny column and a big column. Don't forget to put today's date, 4/13, and this is for consumer math. So normally April is the time that you would be talking about tax day. This is something that is very much on adults' radars because we have to pay taxes, but kids kind of don't really notice it at all. Today, we're only going to focus on income taxes. So these are the taxes that are paid to the government that help keep the government functioning. So we'll start with a couple of questions that you might have. Like, for instance, who pays income tax? Well, income tax is paid by anyone who earns more than a certain amount. So if you were a working adult living independently that earned $12,000 and $12,200 exactly per year or more, you would have to pay income tax. If you make less than that, then you're not required to pay income tax because basically your tax obligation or what taxes you have to pay is zero. So there's no point in filing taxes if you don't actually have to pay taxes. Because you are a dependent, you are dependent on your parents. If you earn more than $1,100, then you have to pay taxes. Interesting enough. You don't get quite the tax break that adults who have to pay their own bills get. Why do we pay income tax? Because it's no fun having your money go someplace other than your own pocket. This pays for all of those government costs. So at the federal level, which is nationwide, so Congress and the president, they're taking that money and they're using it for Social Security, Medicare, defense spending, and paying government debt. So every time the government makes a budget that involves spending more than they actually have, they take on debt to pay for the extra. And that debt costs them interest, and our tax money goes to pay that off. At the state level, because you have to pay taxes at the federal level and at the state level, the state uses it a lot for education and for some medical expenses as well related to Medicare. When do you pay income tax? You might have this one incorrect. So a lot of people think that we pay taxes or income tax one time a year, when actually you're paying it every time you get a paycheck. So when you get a paycheck, you have that gross amount, which is what theoretically you get paid. So your hourly rate times however many hours you worked. And then you have a net amount, and you can see all the minuses. They take away money for your income taxes, they take away money for Medicare, they take away money for Social Security. You're going to have a lot of things where they take money off of your paycheck. And one of those things is going to be for your taxes. So the money that goes into your bank account isn't the whole amount that you earned. Some of that has already gone away to pay your taxes. So you might be wondering, what is the whole tax day in April, usually, in this year, because things are different, it's been pushed off. But why do we have tax day if we're already paying it through our paycheck? Well, the truth is that they're not actually taking the exact amount that you owe, because that can be adjusted depending on your personal circumstances. So the way this works is that when you start a job, you're given a form that's called a W-4 form. It is the same form that you get no matter where you get a job in all of the United States. And you're going to fill out this form, and it's going to ask you a few questions, but mostly they're going to take the information from that to determine how much you need to pay from each of your paychecks. So based off of how much you make and how many people are in your household, how many dependents you have, if you had kids, you get you pay less in taxes. If you don't have kids, you're going to pay more in taxes. They're going to use that information to figure out how much to take out of your paycheck. But it's not going to be exactly the right amount. So you can even ask them to take more out from each paycheck so that later when you file your taxes, you don't have to pay like a debt. You don't owe them money. In April, you do something called filing your tax returns. And you don't have to do it exactly in April. You can start anytime like January and after. But the due date is April, usually. This year is obviously different. You're going to complete paperwork. So this is like a tax return form, and you're going to see both of these attached. And on that tax return form, you're calculating how much you actually owe in taxes for the previous calendar year. So this year, we're actually paying taxes on 2019. So from January to December of 2019. And the amount that's calculated on this paperwork could be more or it could be less than you actually paid. So if it's more, then you owe the government more money. So you've only paid part of what you owe for taxes. And you have to send in that paperwork with a check for whatever is left that you owe. If you owe less, then they're going to send you a check, which is nice. And that's why people kind of like tax season, is that you get money back. It's a tax refund. There are a few things to know with income taxes. One, you may have to pay income tax to the federal government, the state government, and sometimes even the city or the county. For Colorado, we have a flat rate. 4.63%. So everybody in Colorado pays the same amount to the state. At the federal level, they break it up by how much you make. And we'll talk about calculating how much you would owe in taxes in our next lesson. Second thing to know is if you don't pay your taxes, the government is very powerful and they will get their money. But in the meantime, you're also going to be charged interest and fees. So it's wise to pay your taxes on time. If you don't pay your taxes and like they've tried to get you to pay your taxes, they can seize assets. What this means is that they can take the money that you are earning at your job. They can access your bank account and take money out of it. They can take your property, including your car, your house, anything that you own, and they can sell it in order to pay your obligations. So don't skip out on your taxes. You got to pay them. Also, if you, for whatever reason, maybe you lost your job since then or something like that, you can ask for like a payment plan or a delay. You're still going to get charged interest. Hopefully, probably not fees if you do this in a timely manner, but you're going to get lower fees or lower interest rates if you work with the government to pay your taxes. All right, last two things. You should keep relevant records for 3 years. So if I am claiming some that I owe less taxes. So as a teacher, for instance, I get money off for whatever expenses I have for my classroom. I need to keep the receipts for that and the records of what I spent for 3 years after I file. And that's in case I messed up. Maybe I did my math wrong, or maybe the government does their math wrong and they think that I owe more money. They can do what's called an audit, and they can ask me for those records. So you should keep your relevant records for at least 3 years. And the last thing is there are a lot of deductions that may reduce the amount you owe. So a deduction is anything that the government has said is a good thing for you to be doing with your money, and that they want you to get a break on your taxes because of that. So for instance, if you're saving for retirement, you could get a tax break. If you are paying interest on a student loan, you can get a tax break for student loans. So looking for those opportunities will help reduce your tax bill. All right, that was a quick overview. send me a picture of your notes so that I know that you got them. And we will follow up with this to learn a little bit more about taxes in our next lesson.